Welcome back to Good Living, chatting now with Maria Browne from Plunket. Hello, Maria.
Hi there.
It's been a real food day today, so it's quite
It smells good.
It does smell good, doesn't it? We're talking about something that I know a lot of parents, and rightly so, stress out about, and that's having children that are fussy eaters.
Absolutely.
It's so hard, isn't it? What are some of the reasons that children perhaps become a fussy eater?
First of all, I want to acknowledge how stressful it is. It's a really tricky thing, and there are some children that are incredibly fussy, and so parents naturally are very worried about whether they're getting what they need to grow and develop.
Because we're the providers, aren't we, for their children's nutrition?
Yeah. And the thing that people do find is often they'll eat quite well as, once they start solids and they're, really packing the food away, and then around sort of 12 to 15 months they suddenly become fussy. Some of that, well, the two sort of reasons, some of that is around the fact that their growth actually does slow down after that sort of 15 months to 18 months. They're not growing nearly as fast as they are as babies and early toddlers, so they don't actually need quite as much.
So that's a natural thing
that
happens.
Natural thing that happens. And the other thing is that they do, as all toddlers do, they realise they've got a bit more independence, and they like to start asserting that independence, and one of the things they can control a little bit is when they do and don't eat.
Okay, yes, and they like to do that a lot, don't they? Which makes it even harder to, especially when, as you said, if you've had a child that's been eating reasonably well up to a certain point, and then all of a sudden that changes.
Exactly.
So what's some of the best advice that you can give worried parents out there who think that their children aren't eating anywhere near enough of the right kind of foods and things?
I think some of the tips that I'd give people is we do have a few, it sounds a funny term, but we do have a few milkaholics out there. Sometimes the temptation is, if they're don't seem to be eating their meals particularly well, but they're still drinking milk, we'll give them extra milk because at least, that's good for them, and at least they're getting their milk. In all reality, it actually suppresses their appetite for the range of foods that they should be eating. Milk is fantastic, and obviously from 12 months on, full cow's milk, not the trim milk until 2, but limiting it to, your 1 to 2 year olds are really only needing sort of 500 to 600 mils a day, whereas when they were babies they were having up to 1,000 mils. So we're talking 2 to 3 cups of milk a day, and not letting them have more than that. Trying to have them having it out of a cup as they get older rather than a bottle as well. I think we talked about it previously about dental health as well. So not filling them up with milk. And the temptation also is, at least they'll eat, cheesels or whatever. So trying really hard not to fill them up with sugary, salty or fatty sort of snacks, in the hope that, at least they're eating that, because they're empty calories, really. So it is a matter of offering quite a big variety, letting them choose what they do and don't eat, keeping on trying with new foods. If they, won't touch it the first time, leave it a few days and then try again. Some kids, it'll take sort of 10 times of offering the same thing before they'll eat it. And some kids, they'll eat something raw, but they won't eat it cooked. Carrots being a perfect example. So carrot sticks instead of cooking the carrots. You can also be a bit crafty and disguise some of the food. So, veggies, you can get quite a few veggies into a minced bolognese sauce or a meatloaf without them realising. But also, while that's devious to a certain degree, also important to still offer those things on the plate as well.
So that they can see and have that choice. Yeah,
eating together is a really good thing, and whether it's with the family or with other little people. So some kids eat really well at preschool, but don't eat particularly well at home, and some of that is it's that peer thing. They just don't realise what they're doing, and they all eat together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So eating together and letting them feed themselves.
Yep, absolutely. Well? Textures is a really important thing, and exploring it can be really messy, but letting them quite early on pick up food or start trying with the spoon. I mean, they often will have the spoon upside down and half the food sort of comes out of the mouth, but we find that kids will eat more if they're feeding themselves. Yeah.
And is there light at the end of the tunnel, or does sometimes this become an even bigger problem if it's not kind of addressed?
Generally, it's just a developmental stage, and most healthy children will get what they need. I mean, it's incredible to imagine that sometimes, because there are some very fussy eaters, but it tends just to be a phase. The more you focus on it as an issue, the more difficult it can be. So trying really hard to be patient, and also trying really hard to praise what has been eaten, what they have tried, rather than what's left on the plate.
Yeah.
And also just, patience, perseverance does tend to be just a stage. Obviously though, if you're worried that they're not growing, you're worried about their development or their energy levels, then obviously having a talk to your Plunket nurse, running Plunket line for a chat, or going and seeing your GP.
Yeah, will help alleviate and hopefully get them on the right road.
The most common thing probably is veggies that kids won't eat, but often if they're eating fruit, that's fine. They're going to get the vitamins and minerals that they need.
Great advice. Thank you very much, Maria. And if you would like to have a chat with anyone from Plunket again about your fussy foodies, remember the number 0800 933 922, or their website is www.plunket.org.nz.